Savannah Hart found out on a Tuesday. She was standing in her kitchen, still in her work clothes, eating cereal for dinner because she had not had the energy to cook in 3 days. Her phone buzzed. She looked down. It was Chloe. She answered without thinking, "Savannah." Chloe's voice was the kind of bright that only existed when something really good had happened. "I have news. Big news." "The biggest news, you're pregnant," Savannah said, putting another spoonful in her mouth. "No. Better." A pause for dramatic effect. Chloe had always loved dramatic effect. "I'm getting married." Savannah stopped chewing. "His name is Dean," Chloe continued, her voice rushing forward the way it always did when she was excited. "Dean Archer. You might actually know him. Didn't you two go to the same university? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I want you to be my maid of honor, obviously, and the wedding is in New Hope, 1 full week. The whole family will be there in Savannah." "Say something." Savannah said nothing, because the cereal bowl was still in her hand. And the spoon was still in her mouth. And the name Dean Archer was sitting in the middle of her chest like something that had fallen from a very great height. Dean Archer, the same Dean Archer who had held her hand through her father's funeral. Who had kissed her in the rain outside a restaurant on their 6-month anniversary. Who had sat across from her at a coffee shop 3 years ago and told her, very quietly, very carefully, that he thought they wanted different things, that Dean Archer was marrying her sister, Savannah. "Are you still there?" "Yes," Savannah said. Her voice came out perfectly normal. She had no idea how. "I'm here. Congratulations, Chloe. I'm so happy for you." She hung up. She put the cereal bowl down. She sat on her kitchen floor and stared at the wall for a very long time. Then she picked up her phone and called Roman. He answered on the second ring. He always answered on the second ring. "Talk to me," he said, and that was the thing about Roman Blackwood. He never said hello. He never asked what was wrong. He just opened the door and waited for her to walk through it. "My sister," Savannah said, "is marrying my ex." Silence. Then, "Which ex, Roman, which ex, Savannah?" She closed her eyes. "Dean." Another silence. Longer this time. "Okay," he said finally. "I'm coming over. You don't have to, I'm already putting my shoes on." He arrived 20 minutes later with a bottle of wine and the specific expression he only wore when he was trying very hard not to say something. He sat on the kitchen floor beside her because she had not moved. He poured 2 glasses. He handed her one. "Say it," Savannah said. "I'm not going to say it, Roman. I told you 3 years ago that man was." "Don't." He closed his mouth. He sipped his wine. They sat on the floor in silence for a while. "I have to go," Savannah said. "It's a week-long thing. A whole mansion in New Hope. The entire family. I cannot show up alone." Roman looked at her slowly. "What are you asking me?" "I need a fiancé," she said. "A fake one. Just for the week. Someone who looks good and says the right things and doesn't let me fall apart in front of my mother. And you're asking me. You owe me a favor, Savannah. I owe you 17 favors, so this covers all of them." He looked at her for a long moment. Something moved behind his eyes that she did not catch. Then he picked up his wine glass. "When do we leave?" he said. The drive to New Hope took 4 hours. Roman drove. Savannah sat in the passenger seat with her sunglasses on even though it was overcast and pretended to be asleep so she would not have to talk about how she was feeling. Roman did not push. He put on music she liked. He stopped for coffee without being asked. He was, as he had always been, completely and quietly unbearable in his thoughtfulness. "You don't have to perform happiness," he said somewhere around the third hour. Not with me. She took her sunglasses off. I'm fine. You've said that 4 times since yesterday and each time your voice gets a little flatter. Roman, I'm just saying. You don't have to be fine. Not in this car. She looked out the window. The trees were getting thicker. New Hope was that kind of place, green and quiet and very beautiful in a way that felt almost unfair given the circumstances. What if I see him, she said quietly, and I feel everything all over again? Roman kept his eyes on the road. Then you feel it, he said. And I'll be right there. She did not say anything else. But something in her chest loosened, just slightly. The mansion was enormous, of course it was. Chloe had always had spectacular taste and absolutely no restraint. White stone, tall windows, ivy climbing one full side of the building. A circular driveway with more cars than Savannah had ever seen at a family gathering. Chloe came running out before they had even fully parked. She was wearing a yellow dress and she looked like someone had switched a light on inside her. She grabbed Savannah first, squeezing hard, then pulled back to look at Roman. This is him, she said, her eyes going wide. Savannah. This is him and you waited this long to introduce us? Chloe, I'm Roman, he said, shaking her hand with that easy warm smile he kept ready for exactly these situations. I've heard everything about you. Lies, Savannah said. All good things, Roman said, ignoring her. Chloe laughed and linked her arm through Savannah's and pulled them both toward the entrance. And that was when Savannah saw him. Dean was standing just inside the doorway. He was exactly the same. That was the cruelest part. He was exactly the same, and she had spent 3 years hoping he would look different somehow. Older, tired. Wrong in some way she could point to. He did not look wrong. He looked like Dean. He saw her at the same moment she saw him. Something crossed his face, surprise, then something softer that she refused to name. Savannah, he said. Dean, she said. And Chloe, radiant and completely oblivious, pulled them both into a group hug that Savannah survived purely through will alone. Roman's hand found the small of her back. Light. Steady. A quiet signal that said, I'm here. She leaned into it by exactly 1 centimeter. He pressed his hand in slightly firmer. They made it through the introductions. They made it through the room assignments. They made it up the stairs and down the long hallway to their room. The moment the door closed, Savannah sat on the edge of the bed and let out a breath that felt like it had been building since Tuesday. You did great, Roman said. I wanted to disappear into the floor, I know. You did great anyway. She looked up at him. He was standing by the window, jacket off, looking out at the garden below with his hands in his pockets. The afternoon light caught the side of his face and she had the sudden strange thought that he was very good looking and she had somehow never fully registered it. She pushed the thought away immediately. Thank you, she said. For coming. He turned and looked at her. Always, he said simply. The first dinner was a long table, 12 people, and Dean sitting directly across from Savannah as though the universe had a sense of humor. He tried twice to catch her eye. She focused on her food both times with the dedication of someone defusing something dangerous. Roman, to his left, leaned in close to her ear. He keeps looking at you. I know, she said quietly. Do you want me to do something? Like what? He picked up her hand from the table and held it. Very naturally. Very convincingly. He brought it to his lips and kissed her knuckles without breaking eye contact with the person he was talking to on his other side. As though it was the most normal thing in the world, Savannah felt her heart do something complicated. Across the table, Dean looked away. Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, Savannah could not sleep. She lay on her side of the large bed. They had established sides with the efficiency of 2 people who were definitely just friends, and stared at the ceiling. Are you awake? She whispered. Yes, Roman said immediately. Were you asleep at all? No. She turned her head to look at him. He was looking at the ceiling too. Roman. Why did you really agree to this? A pause. Because you asked me, that's not a reason. You could have said no, I never say no to you. That's what I mean. Why? He turned his head and looked at her. In the dark, his expression was quiet and unreadable. Go to sleep, Savannah, he said gently. She turned back to the ceiling. She did not sleep for a long time. By day 3, a rhythm had formed. Mornings were wedding activities, tastings, fittings, family photographs. Afternoons were slower. Evenings were dinner and dancing, and Savannah performing the role of happy maid of honor with everything she had. Roman never left her side unless she told him to. He was good at this, at reading the room, at knowing when to step in and when to give her space. He made her mother laugh at dinner. He played cards with her uncle. He was, by every visible measure, exactly what a devoted fiancé looked like. The problem was it was starting to feel less like a performance. On the third afternoon, Chloe pulled Savannah aside to look at the final dress alterations. They sat together in a bright room while a seamstress worked, and Chloe talked about Dean the way people only talk when they are completely sure of something. He makes me feel safe, Chloe said. You know that feeling? Where you just exhale? Savannah looked at her sister's face. Open, honest, completely unguarded. Yeah, Savannah said. I know that feeling. Is that how Roman makes you feel? Savannah opened her mouth. Closed it. Yes, she said, it came out without her planning it. And the frightening part was that it was not entirely a lie. That evening there was a garden party. Fairy lights strung between old trees, a small band playing something slow and sweet. Roman found her by the edge of the garden. Alone for once, looking up at the lights. Dance with me, he said. Roman, we don't need to perform right now, no one is watch. I know, he said. Dance with me anyway. She looked at him. He held out his hand. She took it. He pulled her in close, closer than strictly necessary, and they moved slowly to the music in the warm evening air. His hand was on her waist. Her head was almost on his shoulder. Almost. Can I tell you something? She said quietly. Always. I don't think I'm sad about Dean anymore. He said nothing. His hand on her waist stayed steady. I think I was sad about what it meant, she continued. Like, if he left, it meant something was wrong with me. That I was too much or not enough, or, she stopped. Sorry. This is a lot, don't apologize, he said. His voice was low and close. Keep going, I think I've been grieving the wrong thing for 3 years. He pulled back slightly to look at her face. His expression was careful and very still. What's the right thing? He asked. She looked up at him. The fairy lights were behind his head. The music was still playing. She did not answer. She laughed softly and looked away. Ignore me. I'm being strange. His jaw tightened slightly. But he pulled her back in and they kept dancing, and he did not push. On day 4, everything cracked open. Savannah's aunt, sharp, observant, the kind of woman who had been watching people for 70 years and missed nothing, cornered Savannah near the library. That young man, she said, meaning Roman. He loves you. Savannah kept her voice easy. We're engaged, Auntie. I'm not talking about the engagement, the old woman said. I'm talking about the way he looks at you when you're not looking at him. She tilted her head. The question is whether you're going to keep pretending you don't see it. Savannah said nothing. Her aunt patted her hand and walked away. She found Roman that evening sitting outside on the back steps alone. She sat beside him without saying anything. The garden was dark and quiet. Inside, the house hummed with family noise, My aunt knows, Savannah said. Which part? She didn't say which part. She pulled her knees up. Roman. I need to ask you something and I need you to answer me honestly. He looked at her. Okay, is any of this? She stopped. Started again. When you hold my hand. When you look at me the way you do. Is any of it real? The question sat between them like something fragile. Roman looked at her for a long moment. His expression was the most open she had ever seen it. Savannah, because I think, she said, her voice dropping, that some of it might be real for me. And I don't know what to do with that. And I'm terrified that I'm about to ruin the most important friendship I have because I can't. She pressed her lips together. Because I can't stop thinking about you. Silence. Roman stood up. He walked 2 steps away, turned back, and looked at her sitting on the step with her heart completely exposed. I have been in love with you, he said quietly, for a very long time. The air left her body. And I agreed to come here, he continued, not because I owed you a favor. I came because I cannot watch you go through hard things without being next to you. I have never been able to do that. She stood up slowly. Roman, but I also know, he said, and his voice stayed steady even though something behind his eyes was not, that you just told me you might have feelings and you also just told me you're terrified. And I am not going to be the thing that breaks you open in the middle of your sister's wedding week. That's not your decision. Go back inside, Savannah, he said. Gently. Think about what you actually want. Not what you feel right now in the dark with the music coming through the window. What you actually want. She looked at him. He looked back. Neither of them moved for a long moment, then she went back inside. She stood in the hallway with her back against the wall and her eyes closed and her heart running at twice its normal speed. The wedding day was perfect. Of course it was. The sun came out, the flowers were exactly right, and Chloe cried happy tears at the altar while Dean looked at her like she was the only person in the room. Savannah stood at the altar beside her sister and felt, to her own complete surprise, genuinely happy for her. Whatever Dean had been to her, whatever wound his leaving had left, it had nothing to do with this moment. Chloe was radiant. Dean was present and devoted. This was not the wrong ending. It was just not her story. Her story was sitting in the 3rd row. She found him there when she looked up. He was not watching the bride. He was watching Savannah with an expression so quiet and so open that her throat tightened. She looked away. She looked back. He was still watching. After the ceremony there was dancing and toasting and the warm chaos of a family that was happy. Savannah moved through it. She hugged Chloe. She shook Dean's hand and meant it when she said she was glad he had found his person. He looked at her carefully. Are you okay? He said. I really am, she said. And it was completely true. She looked around for Roman. He was not at his table. Not at the bar. Not on the dance floor. She went through the side door to the front of the house. He was there. Bag at his feet. Jacket on. His phone in his hand. What are you doing? She said. He looked up. My flight was changed. Earlier departure. You changed it. He did not deny it. Savannah, you changed your flight, she said, walking toward him. On the last day. Why? Because, he said, and for the first time all week his voice was not steady, I have spent 7 days pretending to be the man you come home to. And I am not very good at pretending anymore. She stopped in front of him. Then stop, she said. He looked at her. Stop pretending, she said. I spent 3 years thinking I was broken because someone left. And this entire week I have been standing next to the one person who has never once left and I almost let you walk away because I was scared. She shook her head. I'm not scared anymore, Savannah. His voice was rough. If you are not sure, I am sure, she said. I am completely sure. I have never in my life been more sure of anything. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he picked up his bag and put it back down. He took one step toward her. Then another. You are, he said quietly, the most complicated, frustrating, wonderful person I have ever known, Roman. Stop talking. He stopped talking, and standing outside that white stone mansion, in her maid of honor dress with the wedding still happening behind them, Savannah Hart finally stopped looking backward. The sun was still out. Roman's hand was warm. And for the first time in 3 years, everything felt exactly right. If this story made you feel something, if you found yourself hoping they would figure it out, hit that like button right now. And if you are new here, subscribe, because this is what we do. Real stories, real emotions. Drop in the comments, did you see Roman's feelings coming from the beginning? Or did it sneak up on you? Tell us. We read every single one.